You're listening to Around Comics. 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 You're listening to Around Comics.
From Chicago, you're listening to Around Comics, the comic culture podcast where we talk about everything in and around the world of comics. I'm Brian Salazar, and now your host, Christopher Niesman. Oops,
True. I could hear everything, though. It was there. That worked. Yeah, it was good.
It actually worked that time?
Yeah, it worked that time. That's okay. Yeah. All right. New, different. Check out my sweet, sweet new shirt.
That is a hell of a shirt. There's some sugar skulls on that shirt.
Yep. My wife said, you look like a 50-year-old white man in that shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, so I'm dressed appropriately.
You look like you're down in the Keys, you know, like thinking about opening a bar, maybe.
I'm always thinking about opening a bar. I haven't been to a bar in 6 months. Is it 6 months? Almost. Wow. Almost 6. That's like I haven't done that since I was like 14.
They're open by me. I mean, they're all open.
There are bars open. I'm not going in one.
Yeah, me either. I'm not going in.
Crazy.
Bar. I don't like bars when there's not a disease floating around.
Yeah. So keeping a drink at home. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I had a busy weekend. I had my kids' graduation party. We finally did a graduation party for both my kids. My son graduated 8th grade and my daughter graduated high school. So we
congratulations.
Had little outdoor get together, just family, you know, kept it small, but had to do something.
I went to a friend's house yesterday that we're kind of to the point that we know our friends that have been responsible and have socially isolated and distanced and are taking it seriously. So you can kind of go and have a socially distanced get together with a very small group of people. Went and brewed beer for the first time.
Wow.
This weekend. I've got a friend.
I haven't done that in the past. This sort of.
Isn't it shocking?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Marta just says no. Is just don't even think about it. Because she knows I will go down that rabbit hole and we'll have like a whole system in the garage or whatnot. But my buddy, it's like he's serious about it. It's what I call like a tweener brewer because he's got a full barrel system. He can do, like most homebrewers do, like 5 gallons at a time. He can brew 30 gallons at a time.
That seems like more than a hobby at that point.
He could and actually wants to open a tap room with this. And he's got it. He's a scientist with this. So we made a double IPA yesterday. Of course, my fun part of it afterwards was I brought home like 5 pounds of the spent grains and made dog treats out of them. So,
all right.
Yeah. So
I didn't know dogs like the leftover grains. You
just mix it with peanut butter and bake it in the oven. Cut it into strips beforehand, bake it in the oven. So I'm just like, how much grain do you go through? He's like, dude, like hundreds of pounds of grains, and he composts them or donates them. But yeah, so that's some thrilling comic talk there for everyone. What Chris did with his spent beer grains over the weekend.
Beer brewing.
Beer brewing. We actually to pivot to comics, and Tom's going to be trying to join us a little bit later. That's the plan anyway. So we're still waiting for Mr. Caters, but it was quietly a real. Huh?
I'm drinking beer.
Are you drinking beer? What are you drinking? We should do a quick drink roll call.
I am drinking. This is a Left Hand brewery. They're Nitro Flamingo Dreams. It's a
nitro.
Yeah, it's a raspberry nitro infused like a stout, like a raspberry stout.
That sounds delicious. Left Hand, that's are they Fort Collins, Colorado?
Longmount.
Longmount, Colorado. I know it's Colorado. That's a great brewery.
I love all their beer. They do like a
Their
assortment.
milk stout's amazing.
Yeah. Well, they do an assortment pack, like an 8-pack, and you get 4 different nitro stouts in it. So there was like a Galactic Cowboy. There's the milk stout. This one, and then it's either like a tiki one, which is like a pina colada, which is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Or there was I can't remember what the other one was. I think it was just like an amber kind of nitro amber thing, but it was
Colorado in general makes. I think they're one of the. I wouldn't say underrated because most like beer enthusiasts know how good the beer out of Colorado is. There's some fantastic breweries in that state. So I have to show off the sweet can koozie that my wife bought me here. My America 1776 America. But what am I drinking? It's not a white beer at all. I have from Saugatuck Brewing their Napoleon Milk Stout. So
Napoleon.
Yeah, so it's going to be like a ice creamy milk stouty thing that I normally wouldn't drink on a hot summer evening. But yeah, the beer chest is good. What?
Is it a short one?
No.
Bad joke. Just a bad joke.
I know. Oh, there's Roy. So the folks out there that listen to this as an audio podcast, be reminded that we do record this as a live video stream, usually on Sunday evenings, schedules permitted. So we'll try and not a show and not talk about things too much. But hey, let's talk about some comics. There were, I know, 2 that came out this week that you were really excited about, and so was I, independently of each other. And you're like, "Hey, have you read these?" And I was like, "I have," and they were awesome. So you want to get us started, Sal?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no secret about Pulp from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips and
those guys. You actually got a copy, huh?
Yeah, I went and got it today.
Okay.
My local comic book shop actually had a copy, so I ran.
One of those weird. I don't know if it's like hoop or a weird, COVID thing, or just in how libraries get things, or the kind of weird, messed up schedule right now. But I was able to, through your advice, download it and read it through Hoopla, but I ordered it through Amazon and won't get it until like Tuesday, the hard copy. Hey, Mr. Caters.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Tom.
How you doing, bud?
Hi.
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 Hi. How are you, sir?
Oh, good.
I feel like I'm wearing quite a V-neck here. I got the cleavage.
Are we all wearing our deep V's?
Let me open it up, show off the great chest hairs.
I don't think it's actually a V-neck. I think it's just a worn-out T-shirt I got.
Everyone, put on your deep V's.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we just started talking about
Great.
Ed Brubaker.
Can't wait to hear it.
And Sean Phillips with colors by Jacob Phillips, who I'm assuming is related to Sean Phillips in some way.
Nepotism.
It's the worst in comics.
It's the comic way, right? Tom, have you read it?
I have not read it.
Okay.
Well, I won't.
You can spoil it. I'll forget by the time I get to it.
It is on Hoopla. I did read it on Hoopla, but I did get a copy of it today. I was able to run out to my local shop and buy a hardcover. It's like $17 for the hardcover. I absolutely loved this story. It's just
Brubaker Phillips.
Huh?
Brubaker and Phillips.
Brubaker and Phillips. Absolutely. I read everything that they do together. Everything they've ever done, I own and I love all their stuff, and I've reread all their stuff. And this is very much, while it fits right in with all of the noir-y stuff that they do. It
the
also
criminal, yeah.
It's its own thing, and it stands on its own and its own story. And the one thing I can say about it, is that when I was done with it, I was really disappointed that it was over.
Yes.
I was like, damn, that was too short. Because I love, there's nothing I love more probably in comics today than when these guys come out with like a 6-issue comic, and it's like I know reading the first issue they're going to hook me, and then I got 5 more issues or 6 more issues or however many more issues of that, sweetness coming to me, and it's just like going to be this really deep, character-driven story that I'm going to.
You know that they're going to run you through a grinder over those 6 issues.
This was a little different than that. It was much quicker. It was, it's a short story. It's a.
Have you been reading these? I have a feeling this felt like it fit right in with these little criminal. I almost want to call them graphic novellas. They're like little. You read Bad Weekend, right?
Oh yeah.
And then this one is My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies. These are all characters that have been in criminal stories.
Yeah, they're all tied in that same universe. And this character could fit right into that universe, but it's not.
Wouldn't surprise me if he's like not someone's dad, because it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same universe or whatever. It's just this is sort of a one-off, its own kind of thing. But I felt like there was just some masterful storytelling going on by Brubaker and Phillips in this. The way that they blended the idea, just the basic idea of the story is there's a guy who is, in his, I don't know, what do you think, 60s?
Oh, at 70s.
60s, 70s. Yeah, probably 70s. Older guy, and it's the 1930s. It's like 1939, I think, when the story is being told. And he is a paperback writer. He writes like pulp westerns. And as you quickly find out in the story, he's kind of writing them based on his own history,
autobiographically.
He was a bad guy basically in the old Wild West, and a bandit and a bank robber and that kind of thing. And now he's an old writer.
Has anyone ever done that story before? Because that's kind of, whenever I put it down, I was like, why has no one ever done like the retired gunslinger moved to the city, and it's like, New York, 1930s, and this guy, he was a gunfighter,
well, to me,
and a gang leader.
It's like if Butch or Sundance didn't die in that last gunfight, and then eventually, one of like Sundance becomes a writer. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it is, but. And
some of the the facial expressions, very Paul Newman in there. I
think you could definitely pull from a lot of different places. I mean, it even has a little bit of like The Unforgiven, and you kind of have that feel. But one of the things that I loved so much about the story was, I mean, obviously the art is beautiful. These two work so amazingly well together. They're just seamless in their ability to sort of tell these great character studies and these super entertaining stories about just these little characters. But the way that it went from the way they sort of showed you who this guy was, I just thought was so well done. It was just the seamless way of using the dialogue and doing a thing that you could kind of only do in comics, where you're showing one thing and you're talking about something else. And they went back and forth between when he was a young man and he was, doing things in the Wild West, and him being an old guy now today. And they went back and forth, but then there was like this moment where you went, oh, this is him, because initially you're like reading his stories that he's writing, and you're reading about this character Red, and you don't know that it's him. But then pretty early on, you figure it out. But I just felt the way they transitioned that, it was so beautifully done. It was just really elegant. It wasn't like, you can't even like point to like one thing where it was like, oh, this is his stories. I mean, he tells you that, but just the way that the dialogue worked, it was so beautifully done.
It's one of the things that Brubaker does so masterfully is that he has a way of using tropes, but in a modern way, to kind of reveal character's character, and it's like, this thing is, I think the book is like 70 pages. It's not, but he's a completely fleshed out, realized character, and not just him. There's several characters in this book that you feel like you know them, and Brubaker is just really good at giving you just enough to feel like you know who these characters are through little bits of dialogue or little pieces of action, but he also kind of like builds on kind of what your preconceived notions of what them should be, and just kind of builds on that.
Well, he also does like this amazing twist too, like where he takes you in one direction, and then all of a sudden he goes, well, no, I'm going to change it. He doesn't, and it's not like a Sixth Sense sort of twist, but it's just sort of like, oh, wait a second, it's not going to go where you thought.
Oh, he's dead.
He's
the devil.
Well, we almost had a ride off into the sunset moment, and it's just like, yeah, no, it's a Brubaker Phillips comic. It's not going to have a happy ending. It's going to have
more pages.
Yeah,
There's more pages.
I wanted to show one other thing. If you can see it on the screen, I'm showing it from Hoopla, the pages, and just one of the things. And I don't know if this is. I just saw this and kind of went, "Oh, that's really interesting." At one point in the story, our main character starts working with a guy from his past who was actually sort of on the other side of the law. He was a Pinkerton, and they start working together. But you're not quite sure what's going to happen. You're not sure if this guy's on the up and up or what the deal is. And very early on in the relationship is these couple of panels. You can't really tell as well from this because it's separated by pages. But this last panel, you see, this is the Pinkerton guy, and this is our hero, and he's pulling this shotgun out of a holster, and it's pointing right at him. And then the next panel is the opposite. Oh, if I can do it here, hold on. Of him. And in the 2-page spread, he's pointing that pistol right at the Pinkerton.
Yeah.
It's like this really interesting moment of like, they don't trust each other, and it's just sort of Phillips. I feel like Phillips sort of just putting that subtle kind of thing in of these guys are both pointing their guns at each other as they're kind of preparing for this job that they're supposed to be doing together. And you don't know, as the reader, you don't really know whether or not they're on the up and up, if they're going to work together or not. I just thought that was a really interesting sort of moment in the book for Phillips to do.
Yeah, it's I always and Tom will read this, but I think it further points out that you can take people from completely different backgrounds that were once enemies and just make them fight Nazis. It works every time.
Well, everybody hates Nazis. I mean, come on.
Exactly. Everybody hates Nazis.
Except for I was just listening to Jim Gaffigan. Do you know Jim Gaffigan, the comedian?
Yeah.
Really
he doesn't like Nazis.
Yes, he's got like 2 new specials on Amazon.
The pale tourist.
Yeah. And one of them, he like the first one, he is in where's he at? France? No, Canada. He's in Canada, and he does the entire set about Canada, which is hilarious. But then the next one, he's in Spain, and he does the whole thing about Spain. But at one point, he's talking about Germany, or he's talking about Austria, and he's like, Austrians won't even admit that they're next to Germany. They're like, they want to make sure we're not German. We speak German. Our culture is German. Our food is German, but we're not German.
We are not. We are absolutely not
Germans. He's one of the funniest graphic. Like, he doesn't swear at all, really. In his
and it's paid off for him. He's very well.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to sidebar us on Jim Gaffigan.
So yeah, I loved it. One of the things we talked about, and you see it in a lot of comics, and it's sometimes done well, not always done well, but the art changes from one period to the next, from the New York 1930s to the Old West scenes. Just Sean Phillips, showing major chops. And who was the colorist again?
Jacob Phillips, I believe. Because
that was a big part of that was the coloring when they would shift from different eras.
Well, it's sort of the typical Brubaker Phillips coloring in the
Mhm.
modern story, but then when he went to the Wild West, it was a very orange and red palette, very sepia tone, kind of like
as you would see in a pulp.
Yeah, pulp or Time Life book.
Yeah, old timey West color palette.
Yeah,
the funny thing is like from the cover and everything, I thought this was going to be a Wild West story.
You wanted it to be.
I wanted it to be, and it wasn't. I still loved it.
It was a Wild West story.
It was, but it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't what
Isn't that what the last page kind of illustrates? It's that no matter what you think you've been reading, it's still a Wild West story.
Well, and the sort of the climax, when he kind of admits to himself what kind of a person he is, I thought was just beautifully done as well. It was just like, yeah, we weren't adventurers, we were killers, and then he just goes out and kills a bunch of
goes absolutely apeshit on these guys. This is an old 70-year-old. It was a very Unforgiven moment.
Yeah, I felt like that. Yeah, that was very like the end of Unforgiven, but in a
I know you're William Money.
But I mean, like I said, it wasn't at all what I expected going into it, but I absolutely loved it. I just enjoyed it so much as a one shot, and I really think like I'd like to see more of this from them, of just like they can tell any kind of story they want in this world that they've created now.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was a little bit of a noir story. It was kind of a heist. It was a heist story. It was an Old West story. I mean, it was like a New York gangster story and a little bit of a World War II story. So it had a lot of fun, cool stuff going on for not a really long book. I mean, it was 70, 75 pages, whatever, 76 pages.
Sounds like it covered a lot of ground.
It was awesome, dude. You'll love it, Tom. I think you'll really enjoy it.
I'll get to it.
Hoopla that.
I got a backlog. I got a backlog of things I'm reading. A man's only got so much time.
I understand. I would say bump this one up. You'll enjoy it.
I'll do what I want when I want to.
Read it now.
Yeah.
This is America, goddammit. He'll read it.
I'm gonna read a book when I want to read it, and I'm gonna wear a mask when I want to wear a mask.
Let's not.
Why can't we have nice things?
Yeah,
don't recommend anything to me. I'm offended.
Every time Chris recommends to me, it's like, well,
no,
I'm not.
No. If I have nothing better to do,
return it. I'm just returning it now.
I'm trying to be a responsible Hoopla user. I finished reading it today and immediately returned it to my library digitally.
I don't know that they have limitations on how many people can.
Do
they?
I
don't know. I'm not sure. I think it depends
on books. They do, because you have to get into.
They only have so many copies, but I don't know about the digital. I think it's a limitation on how many things you can rent, but I don't know that it's a limitation on how many people can rent.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're
maybe.
Isn't that a deal where they can only check out so many digital versions of something?
Yeah, you know what? I'll ask my niece. She works for a library. I'll find out.
You know how pissed I would be if I tried to check something out digitally and it was like somebody's already checked it out.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why do it that? Why even do it this way?
I think that's kind of the deal that they had to cut with the publishers is that they could only check out as many physical copies as they have or something.
Well, the number must be higher because I've never had a digital thing. I've tried to download off Hoopla,
I think they changed that model because it didn't make sense. I think what it is now is they only let my library, I can only rent 10 books or 10 items a month.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is more so than they can only, give out 10 copies a month of pulp or whatever. You know what I mean? Because Tom, I have they've never told me, oh, that's not rentable.
That's already checked out.
Yeah, and that never happened on Hoopla.
Yeah. Because I've got all my so I bought a new car, and so it is the the first time I've ever had a car that has like the digital interface with your phone and that kind of stuff.
Are you reading comics while driving? Because
I'm not reading comics while driving.
Reading comics while driving.
Someday, Tom.
Chris,
We have the technology. But no, like audiobooks. I can check out audiobooks through, I get all my apps there. It's Libby is the app in Wisconsin, I think, that does the audiobooks.
You can do it on Hoopla.
You can do it on Hoopla. You can do it on whatever. But so that's been I've been really using my library as a resource. And I was looking through all the Hoopla comics today, and between that and the Kindle stuff and the Comixology, and I mean it's an ocean of comic books out there that you can read digitally if you want to.
Use your library before they're gone.
Yes, because the way things are going.
Yeah. Libraries will be next.
I was
3 books.
I was calling around trying to find a copy of Pulp, and on Amazon it wasn't available until the 4th.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shoot, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read this weekend. I really wanted to get a copy of it. And then all of a sudden I got an email from Hoopla saying, here, you might like this. And it was Pulp. And I'm like, oh shit, that's available already?
I will.
Okay. And so I downloaded it and read it. But then I went and bought a copy of it because it was so damn good. I had to own it. I had to have one. I had to.
I gotta put it next to all my other Brubaker Phillips stuff. Speaking of Brubaker Phillips, I don't know if we're done talking about Pulp, but what are your favorite Brubaker Phillips comics that they've worked on together? And I know that Sean Phillips has done work away from Ed Brubaker, but I just kind of think of them as a quintessential team, like over the last decade anyway.
Yeah.
Sleeper's
one of my favorites. Sleeper's still one of my favorites of theirs. I love that book. I just read that.
I think that was their first one that they worked together.
And
we're probably safe saying this now. I don't think that Ed would be upset, but I don't know if you remember, we talked with him when Criminal was first getting ready to come out. And this has to be, 2008, something like that. And before the interview, we were talking with him about how much we love Sleeper. And he's like, yeah, do me a favor. Don't mention Sleeper in the interview because it really didn't sell very well. And we don't want to scare off the comic shop owners from ordering Criminal because we don't want them to be gun shy because they would associate it with Sleeper, which blew my mind. And it's like, okay, yeah, I kind of understand why you would say that.
I think, but that's because they were doing something that hadn't been done. Really, nobody was doing that kind of comic. So but now that they've established,
oh yeah. I mean, this is 12 years ago, but I'll always remember that it kind of was a light bulb moment for me in how creators kind of have to step through these landmines of comic shop owner perceptions of, well, these two guys did this one book and it didn't sell well at all, so we're not gonna order this new book that they're working on,
right?
And then Criminal, I think, can definitely stand on its own as being a really successful title.
Yeah, and I love all the Criminal stuff. I love the Fade Out was another one. I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was one of their best.
Fatale
I like, but I get that story. It gets a little convoluted for me. That's like the Maltese Falcon of their stuff to me. Like the storyline is, there's so many kind of things going on in that one that I get a little lost in it sometimes.
In my head, it's all just Criminal.
It's all right. They're all.
So I have a hard time remembering if it's Criminal or not Criminal. Like
the Fade Out isn't Criminal, but it could be. And then Fatale is a different. Yeah, they're all kind of the same.
Pulp. I mean, they could have said Pulp, a criminal comic from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know why they don't just sort of have that as the masthead for all of the stories. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, why did they do this one separately as a hardcover, as an OGN?
Yeah. They've been doing that. They've been doing the little standalone OGNs. Here's my guess: libraries.
Well, no, I mean, Bad Weekend wasn't an OGN. Those were
Yeah, it was.
those were single issues.
No,
No, those came out in single issues.
did it really?
Yeah,
Let's find the answer, guys.
because
Uh,
those were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought they did. I think Bad
Originally,
Weekend came out in single issues.
Criminal 2 and 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a collector edition. I did not know that.
I said that as a joke, but it's honest. I would, if you were like, was that a criminal one or something else? I'd be like, I don't know.
Right, because it's like Bad Weekend, but it's a criminal. That's a criminal. Yeah.
I mean, that's just what I think of when I think of them. So it's just like
Right.
the
Kill or Be Killed isn't technically. But
Yeah.
Cruel Summer is. Bad Weekend is. My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies. Those were all single issues. I'm pretty sure.
This is I didn't see this. This one appears to be standalone.
Oh, okay. Maybe that one is.
Yeah, so I like the little standalone hardcover OGNs. They're great.
I'm happy to, if that's how they want to do things. I hope, I'm more than happy to just buy the whole damn thing and read it all at one sitting than
yeah.
I mean, wait.
Once I stopped getting them as single issues is probably when I sort of lost track of what counts as criminal.
Right.
Because it's always just like a chunk.
Yeah.
It was like
So it's like
it's
a mark of quality.
Bad Weekend.
Not meant derisively to say it's all criminal. Meant that I like criminal.
It's all good criminal.
It's all good. Yeah. So it's
You criminals.
yeah.
I know what you mean, because I think it was started with like Bad Weekend. It was like, okay, is this criminal? I guess it is. It's a criminal, but it's called Bad Weekend or Cruel Summer. That's a criminal story, right? Is it criminal?
Cruel Summer? Is that the new one that's coming out?
Say it again.
Cruel Summer?
That came out in issues, but that's
The hardcover is coming out like next month. Which,
is it? Okay.
I guess it takes place in what, 88, which was when the Bananarama song came out. Is that why it's called Cruel Summer?
No.
No?
So I don't believe that's the case. I don't think it.
I'm gonna say it is.
Remember it. I'm trying to remember if it was in the 80s. Was it in the 80s? I don't think
What,
it was
Cruel
in the 80s.
Summer?
Huh?
Cruel Summer? The song? Cruel
I know
Summer?
the song, but I don't think that
Yeah.
the comic is about the song.
Okay. I want it to be.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. The song always makes me think of Karate Kid, I think, right?
It's a cruel
Karate Kid.
song. It just makes me think of high school. I don't know. And that makes me think of the Karate Kid, but
There you go. Yeah.
my high
Exactly.
school was very much like the Karate Kid.
Karate Kid.
So one last thing about Pulp. How about that cover?
Yeah, I mean it's like a fully painted.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This could have just as easily been like what's the name?
Louis L'Amour.
Well, no. Yeah, well, yeah, it could have been a cover to one of his books, but no, the painter. I was trying to think of the Drew Struzan. It could have been like a Drew Struzan, illustrated poster for a movie. But then once again, it pissed me off because I'm like, well, this is supposed to be a Western. Look at this cover, and then you give me a noir story set in the 30s.
It was a Western.
Not really. No, it was not a Western. It had some Western stuff in it, but it was not a Western.
Yeah. It's the
Maybe,
heart of
maybe the West wasn't the West.
Well, that's probably true.
I am so steeped in Westerns right now because I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I was reading Pulp. I've been reading American Vampire, I've been doing a reread on that, which is all old Westy stuff.
The Old West.
I've so much so that I've got like an Amazon playlist that is what is all of that?
This is from my uncle's house. These are
Oh wow.
Look. The Old West.
Wow.
This is the women of the Old West.
Is that like a
Are
time?
they what books of paintings?
No, these are Time Life. You don't remember these, huh? When I was a kid, Time Life books came out with this. It was a series of like 20 something leather bound books about the Wild West, and each one was a different subject. And they're
My grandparents had them.
This one's the Indians. And, unfortunately, he didn't have the whole series. He only had like 6 or 7 of them.
Okay.
I'll take them, but they're like history books. I mean, they're like, you know, they're just the stories of the Old West, and they tell you all, you know, all sorts of pictures in them.
That's cool.
Yeah, I remember them.
Time Life books, the internet before the internet.
Yes, these were the internet before the internet, but the Great Chiefs, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm sure they're very inappropriate, probably at this point. But speaking of inappropriate, another thing I got.
Here we go.
Yeah, this was funny. So he had a bunch of art. He had a lot of different paintings and different things, and we were finding stuff just like going through all these things, and we found these really cool illustrations. They were like ink or wash illustrations, really pretty little.
Cool.
You're like, what the hell are they? And didn't really know what they were there, but it's by an artist named Mortimer Mempes, Mempes. I guess he had traveled to Japan, and like this is from 1901.
Oh wow!
And these are originals, but so like this one is very inappropriately named a little Jap. Yeah, it's just like, oh, that's gonna be hard to
So
no, I'm not sure. Yeah, and then this one's a Jap in plum color. Yeah, I was just like, oh, all right. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these. This one I could probably sell. It's just called Baby and Baby. You know, that one's not horribly racist.
You need to go to like Antiques Roadshow. These could be worth like tens of thousands of dollars.
They're definitely valuable. We looked it up. They're absolutely valuable. Not quite that much, but yeah, they're worth a few bucks for sure. So yeah, I have to. It's just a weird thing to like sort of.
Would you like to buy this? What's it called? Oh no,
It's called Little.
I'm passing on
that one.
The eBay listing for it.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna list the full details.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah. It's like no.
I get
on the crowd,
you know. Anyway, you know, it's like it's they're not like. I mean, they're beautifully painted, and obviously there's a appreciation, and
there's just unfortunately named.
Yeah, they're just horribly named.
It's like no.
You know, yeah. So,
well, Tom, I know there's another comic we want to talk about, but anything that you wanted to bring up that you've been reading over this last week or two?
I've been reading.
How was Michigan, by the way? Everything go okay?
Yeah, everything's great.
You're back in the great state of Illinois.
Oh, I'm back in my basement, just living my best life, my basement life. I've been catching up on. I've been reading a lot of Johnathan Hickman's X-Men.
Ooh, really?
Yes. With all the, you know, he's worked with, there's lots of different artists. So he's done a lot of interesting stuff. And it's really, I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It's made me think a lot about what I actually like about X-Men stories. Turns out I don't want the X-Men to live anywhere within the Marvel universe. Don't care if they interact with anybody else.
Yeah.
Humans. I like the interaction that they have with humans.
Yeah.
Like the governments of
not with the Fantastic Four.
No.
I don't need them to run into the Avengers. If anything, I like the cool thing about the story and what they've done such a great job in that book of building is like, and it sort of harkens to what the other X-Men run I really love, which was Morrison's X-Men run, is just like, how big can you make this story about mutants and humans? You know, like how far ranging can you expand it outwards, like into the future and into the past? And like the reality is like inadvertently, probably, I certainly don't think Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did it on purpose. The idea that the X-Men, you know, are get their powers just through, evolution is so vastly different from all other superheroes. Like it's so lazy in one way because you're just like, yeah, they just got it. I don't know, whatever. Skip it. Skip
No,
it. Skip
no
it.
radioactive spider
Yeah,
bite.
we don't need to. Whatever. Let's not figure that out. But inadvertently, right? Like the heart of that is that it is like an existential, like, okay, well, if there's this, group of next level of humans, what happens to humans? And the tension of that should be the center of any X universe story, right? And it should be huge. It should like preoccupy humanity, right? In the way that does.
I mean, do you think it was completely unintentional? I mean, they obviously wanted to talk about race from the very beginning.
I think that part's intentional.
Okay.
I think like the part where it's like, if that was true, aside from like the racial, tones of that, just like the existential crisis of that, of like, oh, we're being replaced.
Right.
Like, that
was kind of like Bryan Singer, wasn't it? Really, he was kind of didn't he kind of really start that thought process with the X-Men, with the movies of like they are a threat. Well, no, I guess it would have been because the Sentinels were certainly
yeah. I mean that goes back to
Claremont,
Don Heck,
and it's like that crisis should be all consuming for humanity, which I think is what they've done such a good job with those X books. Is like, yeah, that would be the center of the universe. Would be like the idea of like, oh my god, like mutants are going to replace us. Like that.
Imagine if, like, our friend Jamal Eigel, they work on a series of books where only Black people have superpowers.
Yeah,
that was, could you imagine that today? Like that would be the biggest threat to the rest of humanity as far as like the media and you know what I mean.
It would be like, oh my god, what's happening?
The only thing anyone would talk about. It would be the only, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if
so in that sense, I like them because like they kind of live in a world in and of themselves, right? Like there's no, the Avengers aren't necessarily popping in, like I assume somewhere within it some Avenger will show up, right? But that's not what the story is about. It's like a huge story that is about that, right? And like it should be.
I think there was a moment, if I remember correct, because I read, I think almost all of the original launch of all the new Hickman and stuff.
Oh,
I think there was a moment with like the Avengers, and it was almost like he just did it to basically say, no, fuck off.
I put the Avengers.
we're doing our own thing. Yeah.
There was that scene with Reed and Sue and Johnny and with Cyclops. He meets Fantastic Four, and he's just like, we're doing our own thing, and tell Franklin he's welcome to join us.
Yeah, and it's very in its own space, which is great because it allows it to just make a huge story that this may sound like a criticism, but I actually think it's the strongest X-Men stories to me are not individually character driven, right? Like I don't necessarily love an X-Men story that's like driven by Wolverine or driven by Cyclops, but driven by like the existential crisis of like mutants and humans, right? Is like featuring all those characters, right? And they all have their individual roles to play in it, but like making this huge story that centers on it. And also I think it's probably the best use of the sort of Hickman info dump that sometimes is, I think, not great in some stories, or sometimes it can feel sort of like, you've read this story, now I'm dumping a bunch of other stuff on you at the end or at the beginning.
Oh, I will say, I'm sorry, I'm not learning a new code language. Figure out your goddamn story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which you didn't have to do, but it was just like, okay,
all right,
you have a lot of time.
He does, I think, in these stories, at least, there's a better balance of actual like show and not tell, and then the info dumps are used well to give context to the things you've seen, right? So it's like interwoven in a way that's more organic and helps keep you intrigued with what's happening, but informed enough to know what's going on, and you're not just getting pushed into the deep end.
It was truly like it didn't feel like it was unnecessary or it was supplemental. It helped you understand, like you said, the context of the world around the story.
Yeah, like the way he's done it is something will happen in the story and you're kind of like, what's happening? And then he kind of gives you the context.
Right.
Instead of like just dropping all that stuff like at the end, or like dumping it all on you at the start and then kind of rolling with it, right? Like there's a nice like give and take of like intriguing you with the story and still surprising you. But then when you are feeling like, I don't know what's going on, he gives you enough info to be like, okay, like
right.
I get what's going on. Like in a way it's like woven more into the storytelling. But
I take credit for this because the last time I saw him at a Wizard World, I told him, I'm like, I love your stuff, but I can't understand half of it, dude. You got to really dumb it down. Like I get to the end of your stories and I'm like, I'm a fucking moron. I cannot understand.
I have no idea what just happened.
I felt like an asshole saying that to him in some ways. And he kind of looked at me like, okay, but obviously it worked. Obviously he took my advice.
So yeah, I've been thoroughly enjoying it, and probably helps that I'm not, but I'm not the hugest X fan in the world. Like I have no idea what's happening in the X books before this, nor
I don't think it mattered. Like I think
the X-Men stopped with like Trial of Magneto.
Yeah, I have no idea. So it's just like, this is cool. Like I know enough about these characters to like be intrigued by it, but I'm not like attached to anything that I'm like, why isn't this in here? Or that, I'm like, okay, cool. This is good.
I love what he did with Moria McTaggart.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's sort of a classic comic book move. I'm like, actually, you don't know everything about this character.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of the House of X stuff.
I really liked that he included all the mutants. Like the way that he was just like, okay, we're going to take all the mutants and put them together. They're going to have to interact as a society, which I thought was interesting, because it was like all of a sudden now you have Apocalypse having, to sort of like deal with all the rest of the X-Men, or just,
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was just there's so many X characters, right? And like, this is a really interesting way to use all of them, in a way that makes you like, I want to see what happens, like it's still got it's a big story, right? It's like a big X-Men story as opposed to like just a sort of soap opera-y, X story. It's like
it goes through time, it goes through, I mean it's
huge.
Yeah.
And just like, now you can travel from place to place using flour. Like it's just like 1,000 different things like happening, and it's like
that's what he does. That's what he does so well, though. It's just like he seems to be just a fountain of ideas, of stuff, and sometimes it's just so much. It's like too much. Like, okay, you got to dial it down some. But this he was.
Well, I think the X-verse is good for him. I didn't read much of his FF. Did you guys like his FF?
I liked parts of it, but I
felt.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a great balance of like the things I think he does well. Like I think the X-verse is better for him.
It sounds tailor-made. It's like that book needs a big idea, big, futurist punch to it. I really, the more I read like FF and that kind of stuff, the more I want it to be like Lost in Space. That's.
Yeah, but the problem he did that part of it. What he didn't really do well was it's a family.
Yeah.
That's what like Lost in Space does really well, is like they're a family.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
So it's Family Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do that, I think it works really well, but I don't think he did that part of it well. Or even if you look at like the Umbrella Academy, you know, the Umbrella Academy, which I started watching season 2 this week.
It's awesome, isn't it?
It's great.
I'm
the thing
one episode in, I'm going to save it.
But the thing about, if you look at like even the first season or the comics, I think the TV show maybe did it a little better than the comics did. Is just like these are 7 individuals that don't know how to interact as a family, don't like each other, don't know how to get along, don't know how to work together, and when they finally kind of figure that out, it goes horribly wrong in their case. But you know what I mean? Like,
it's still a family.
Did you guys watch the Lost in Space, the new one series?
I love the Netflix.
I watched a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah, because I loved that show as a kid, the original show. I absolutely, it was probably my favorite show as a, you know, a young person, you know, as a kid on TV, and I really like what they did with it. But it's the same thing. It's like this is a family put in a really horrible situation, and the whole first season is them trying to figure out how to still be a family. And as long as they're together, they're going to be okay. And that's sort of the theme of it. And I think that's what you have to do with the Fantastic Four too. It's like they're at the heart of it. They're a family. They're this fucked up family, but they're a family. And I don't think many people write them that way. I think people write them as a group of superheroes. And it just is like, no, that's the Avengers. The Avengers are a group of superheroes that work together to fight a common enemy. Fantastic Four are a family that are stuck together because their dad threw them into fucking space and turned them into a bunch of weirdos. You know what I mean? And now they have no one else. They're just the only person that can fucking, you know, understand what they're going through. And that's I think that's the problem with the Fantastic Four, is like when the Fantastic Four, when Stan and Jack created them,
they got it. They understood it. Yeah.
Well, but they were fucked up. They were, you know, like the Thing didn't want to be the Thing. The Invisible, you know, like Reed didn't have control of his powers. This was as much a curse as anything else. Well, they turned into these amazing superheroes that people fell in love with. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of boring. That's not what makes them interesting, I don't think. It's like, no, they should be fucked up. They should be a dysfunctional family.
Reed shouldn't be so nice.
No, Reed should not be so nice. And Johnny and Ben shouldn't necessarily just be like a buddy cop movie. You know, they should get each other under each other's skin and really upset one another from time to time. And Ben should be fucking miserable because he's a monster. And you know what I mean? Like that's what that. And once they got past all that, I think that's what kind of made the Fantastic Four boring.
Is that one of the weak underpinnings of comics that have been around for like 70 years?
Well, I mean, that's certainly one of the problems is that the initial problem you put them through is now solved.
Yeah.
And
it's the problem with Spider-Man is that, you know, it's, you know, how long can Peter Parker be, you know, a teenage superhero, you know, 60 years on. And
well, once he's married to a supermodel and he's a millionaire, brilliant genius inventor,
industrialist,
it's really not the same character anymore. It's really, you know what I mean? But that is the problem with having a character that you created 60, 70 years ago, that the initial problem is solved, you know.
Well, that's the great thing about the X-Men.
So to bring it back,
that none of them have jobs.
Yeah. They're all homeless.
Yeah, and essentially their problem is the same problem.
And racism is timeless.
Yeah. So, wow, none of the X. I mean, have any of the X-Men ever had a job? I mean, Cyclops flew a plane for a while.
Wolverine,
sure. He and Madeline.
Truck driver.
Yeah.
Well, what's her name was the Hellfire Club? Wasn't that a job technically? Matrix and a Hellfire Club?
I think you got to pay to.
I don't know. She had lots of money.
Wait.
Holy shit! The X-Men. None of the X-Men have ever been gainfully employed.
Did Beast?
The government's out for him. They want to pay taxes.
I mean, I
None of
guess
them-
the Beast, but like,
Yeah, Beast has been like a professor, right? You know,
I think
does
Has he?
I mean, he's got the Avengers pension, right?
He worked for the government for a
I
while.
mean, I guess the Avengers is a job.
Yeah, that's federally funded.
I mean, Iceman was an accountant.
Was he?
Yeah, yeah, when an X Factor way back in the day. So I guess that's a job.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Hickman needs to give these people something to do. I mean, it's nice in a way because their essential problem is never solved.
Well, they're all pharmaceutical developers now. I mean, isn't that
True.
what they're doing now? So
There you go.
You live on that for a while, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
Pharma. They work for Big Pharma.
Wolverine needs a job. Give him a job. Truck driver. Hickman. Wolverine. Trucks.
Insurance sales.
Can't get enough truck driving comics, man.
Yes, exactly.
Did you guys see before you go, Chris? Just because
We're on trucks.
one of our listeners,
I heard truck driver. And I was like, oh boy, here we
go.
one of our listeners drives a truck, and he posted on our Facebook group. Let me pull it up just so I can get it correctly. Here, hold on a second. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but you know, you can't say truck and not.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean,
Yeah, you got to get into it.
we love the truckers, don't we, folks?
Of all things for us to fixate on.
It's truckers.
If you go to facebook.com/group/around comics, you can join the Around Comics Aces.
I mean, has there been a criminal story about a truck driver yet?
I don't think so.
I mean,
It's coming.
it's coming.
So, guy by the name of Mark V. I'm not going to give his last name, but Mark V. He said, "Appreciate all the trucker love / representation you guys are giving. You know, I'm a Mac guy hauling 13 tons of hot Florida garbage. Trucker handle is lightning bug. I wish I could watch live, but I need as many good podcasts as I can get. Thanks. Keep it up. Loving the show." So he drives a garbage truck in Florida.
Nice.
That's
Some hot garbage.
That's some
Hot garbage.
But I thought that was kind of funny.
Mark, we love the truck drivers.
Gotta
love them.
they're the backbone of America, my friend.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
We had our this moment. You're gonna have to develop a new stinger for like this moment in trucking. It's turned into a bit.
Time for trucker talk. Here's on, good buddy. It's time for Around Comics Trucker Talk.
Yeah. Yeah, like a little
plane scoon over.
Radio.
So, new comic that came out from Image this past week called Hedra. Sal, you along with Pulp, you said, "Hey, have you read this?" And I was like, "I have. I thought it was really neat." So, Tom, have you read Hedra yet?
I have not. It's taken a long time to read it.
Read. It is a silent comic. There's not a single piece of typography. Well, actually, I guess there is. There's the title Hedra in there, but other than that, it is a silent comic. I'm assuming that Sal has pulled some art and he can show off a little bit of that. I did a little bit of research on this. It is from a wonderful creator named Jesse Lonergan. Is how I'm assuming it's pronounced. It was a self-published newsprint comic that the folks at Image picked up on, and it's been reprinted here in traditional comic book form. But it was on Etsy. It's been all sold out, as you would guess. But I love, and I can absolutely see by reading this how well it would have been printed on newsprint. And yeah, it's really cool. It's one of those comics that makes you appreciate comics. That's how I kind of describe it. That
most comics make me hate. I'm just like, this medium
like they're supposed
sucks. Yeah, I hate this medium.
it's one of those comics that it's pretty unique from anything else that you'll see out there on the stands. It definitely reminds me of, like the best of going to like a small press expo or an indie comics artist alley table where you see something that is really good and really original by someone who is absolutely in love with the comics medium. And that was the feeling I had through reading this entire comic, was that this person loves comics.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most original sort of graphic stories that I've ever read. I was really just blown away by it. He does everything on this sort of 30 panel grid. And like you said, there's no words in it. And it's this really cool sci-fi space story kind of thing. It's a little weird, but not, like bizarre you can't understand it weird or anything.
It's not, and we all know this is like, there's some indie comics out there that are kind of like weird for weird's sake and are just very avant. This isn't. It tells a story. It's beautifully done, but that it's a silent comic, it really makes you focus on the art, and to be able to tell the story as well as it was without any dialogue in it was masterfully done.
Yeah, and it's a fun story. I mean, it's a good story too.
Cool. Yeah, it's a neat sci-fi story.
Yeah, but he does some things in it that are just so.
Is it a he? Is Jesse a he? I don't know.
Oh, I don't honestly know either. Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming it's a he, but it could be a she, I suppose. Jesse. I don't know, but he or she, Jesse does a really amazing. I was just blown away, like page after page. It was like, there was just page after page of like, wow, what he or she is doing with this is unbelievable. Like the innovation of telling the story this way. I've never seen anything quite like it. I mean, I know like Chris Ware has done some stuff similar to this with like a lot of gridded, a lot of panels on a page, that kind of thing. But there was just some things in here he did that it just completely blew me away when I read it. I was just like, wow, this is amazing stuff. This is really pushing the medium forward. Like I haven't seen anybody do something this sort of just interesting and different. I think you'd probably get bored if you kept doing this. If Jesse didn't, did this for everything, I don't think it would work. But like to come out of the gates, at least as far as like, a mainstream comic being published for it, I just was like, wow, this is somebody I want to pay attention to, because I couldn't believe.
I want to know the story. And Jesse is a guy, and you can actually follow the art of Jesse Lonergan on Facebook. Checking out some of the stuff right now, and it's pretty awesome. But yeah, I want to know this story. It's like, was it like Eric Stevenson at Image that probably, I imagine, saw this at a convention in the, or got a hold of the newsprint edition, and it's like, yeah, this is amazing. We've got to publish this, because it's really fresh. I mean, it's one of those things that you pick up. It's fresh and it's new, and it's like, okay, yeah, I haven't seen something like this. This is awesome. Yeah,
I like I said, page after page, I was just like, holy crap, this is something else.
Hold on, that page right there. So that's one in the story that I wanted to get your opinion on. Did she win or lose that lottery?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say she won it, because I mean, there was never an indication she didn't want to go into space.
And something like that. If
hard to say,
it wasn't losing the lottery, wouldn't they just pick the best person? Isn't it weird to have a lottery? It's like, did she kind of lose and have to go?
Maybe I don't know. I'll have to reread it again and see. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, Tom, are you familiar with this comic at all?
I am not. But I
Absolutely check it out. But the basic story of it is that nuclear apocalypse on Earth. The powers that be build a spacecraft that's capable of kind of combing the universe, looking for, we're assuming, a way to jumpstart life on Earth, and this one astronaut gets chosen for it, and she literally bounces around the universe from planet to planet collecting samples, and then runs into an extraterrestrial being, a humanoid, kind of like, super being that that she ends up following and having to save, and it kind of goes on from there. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. It's such a very comics way of storytelling.
And he does like so many different things in it. Like it's not, it's not like a one trick pony. Like there's so many different.
It's like that the exploded view diagram of the spaceship.
Like there's that in there, and then there's this really sort of beautifully elegant thing. And then one of my favorite pages was this, where the alien is sort of playfully chasing the rocket ship, and just the way that he lays this out in this grid, and then her seeing him. I just love this. It's whimsical,
It's obviously not an attack, there is whimsy to it. Yeah,
I love that. Or this page before, where you were saying, she goes from planet to planet, and he just tells that story on one page.
That could be months or years of storytelling of her combing the universe for life. That he tells you just immediately in that one. I mean, look at that. Go back to that, where she's looking down through the porthole of the ship, and how he uses
from here.
Oh, yeah. And he uses the borders in that crazy grid pattern. I mean, it's such good comics.
And then you go to here, and blows up that frame basically into the top of it. Yeah, it's so well thought out. I mean, unfortunately the pages aren't here. There's one page where she's like fighting, and the way that he used the grid in like her swings of the weapon she's using, there was just, like I said, there was just so many cool things. It was just page after page of like, wow, that's really cool and innovative.
Like almost like Gulliver's Travels scene in there that I loved. It's and then you almost get, I don't want to say like Green Lantern, but it's almost kind of like the Great Council thing, and I was blown away. It's something that I will pull off the shelf and just thumb through a lot. There's so much going on in there. There's one page where she rescues the being, and they blast off the planet, and there's like this beautiful symmetric design that's built into them, rocketing off of that planet, and it's all hand drawn. And I was just, I just had to like sit there and look at that for a few minutes at just how well composed it was. And it's one of the neater comics I've read in a long time. It's one of those kind of grabs you and kind of makes you realize how much you love the medium.
It came out after the Eisner Awards, and I would say it probably should already win an Eisner for next year. Like, it's the most innovative comic I've seen in I don't know, a decade or more. Like, I don't remember the last time I picked up
the newsprint edition.
Right. I don't remember the last time I picked something up and was just sort of that amazed by the thought put into it and the design of it and everything. Is really, really awesome.
Well, it's kind of what I said in the beginning. It's like you read this and it's like, whoever made this loves comics.
Yeah, I you know, I don't.
Loves
I'm
comics.
not gonna get in. Yeah, they obviously love designing stuff, creating stories and telling things in this way. Whether or not they love comics, I don't know, but
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
they
Right,
might.
he's making it, and he's like, I hate comics.
I hate every minute of this.
It's the cross I have to bear. I hate it.
I
I'm good at it.
do it in this shitty medium.
I've been a lawyer.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about newsprint comics because that's one of the things I loved about, kind of learning about that.
You're dead.
I want more newsprint comics. It's with the last.
I'll be right back. Keep going.
Okay. Sounds like I'm not talking about newsprint.
Fuck that out of here.
Well, like the last thing I can remember that was like mass produced was Wednesday Comics.
Yeah.
Which I adored those. I've got the big oversized collection, but I bought all the individuals and still will flip through them. There's just something about reading comics on newsprint that I love. I've had, I think it was Matt Burden sent me like these 2000 AD newsprint editions, and it's for Tom.
Oh yeah, smell that paper.
Man, that old book smell.
Hey, Chris is smelling paper again. So,
old book. That's good. That's good. But yeah, it's one of the things I love about going to like the small press shows is that you'll have people that will produce comics on newsprint, and I always kind of gravitate towards those.
I recently ran across my stack of Wednesday comics.
Yeah, I was just
whatever the hell they were called. Yeah, I have a bunch of those somewhere in a box.
All 12? Was it 12? Was that a 12 issue?
Probably. I don't remember. I don't know if I ever bought the collected edition or not. I think I did, but
I do. It's unseemly large.
Yeah, it's
right. Big.
I probably have it.
It's as big as the artist editions.
It's problematic for if you have small children. You can't yeah.
It's not one to read in bed. I mean, it could smother you.
Yeah, fall and hit you.
Have either of you guys checked out Firepower by Kirkman and Samnee?
And Samnee?
Not yet.
Yeah, this is Kirkman.
Really? No.
Samnee. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. It came out as a collected prelude. So it was $9.99 and it's like, I don't know, 140 pages or something. I don't know how, it's pretty long. But then I didn't even realize it when I bought it. But yeah, it's like volume 1 prelude. So it makes sense. Like when you get to the end of the story, it kind of makes sense. But it's interesting because it's very much like it's kind of like if it was Iron Fist, but he wasn't white.
Okay.
It's sort of the setup, like this guy is traveling through the Himalayas and almost dies, and then he makes it to sort of like this far, hidden martial arts, Buddhist sort of martial arts school, and starts training there with this old master kind of thing. And it's very much like Iron Fist, but the guy's Asian. He's not white. But I thought it was, I'm like, in this day and age, why is Robert Kirkman allowed to do a story about an Asian guy learning kung fu? Isn't that kind of odd? Like I haven't heard anyone say anything about this.
Why? Because it's Robert Kirkman and he can do whatever the hell he wants.
I guess so, but
did he do it well?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a little weird because it almost feels like it's, we've always talked about sort of comics that are made to pitch a TV show. And that's what it kind of feels like to some degree. It's like I said, it's a little cliche because it's like Kung Fu or it's like Iron Fist or it's very much like that kind of a story, except the guy's Asian. But I mean, that barely even has anything to do with the story. You know what I mean? Like, at least yet. Now at the end of the book, it sort of foreshadows a different type of story. So I think that's why this is the prelude, is because that's not this, like the end of the book is 15 years after this story takes place. So I'm assuming the rest of the story is 15 years after his training and after his and that kind of thing. And that's why they sort of did it that way. But yeah, it was I mean, it was very well done. And obviously Chris Samnee is a modern master. I mean, he's so good. He can just draw anything and I'll buy it because he's just amazing. But yeah, it's good, but it's a little light.
Okay.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's a little.
There's not a lot of there.
It's a little shallow.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun. Say it again.
It's a pitch.
A little bit. It feels a little bit like, but it's also just like a Kirkman. You know, I mean, Kirkman, I don't think writes the deepest waters.
I don't know, man. Battle Pope was deep.
Well, this is true. There was a lot of esoteric.
Yeah. I mean, to his, that's I think probably why he's successful.
Yeah.
Like it's not a bad thing. He finds like these sort of places to play in, like Invincible isn't the most like earth-shattering concept, like he just found fun ways to play in that universe that like you're like, oh yeah, that's a superhero story, like I get what that is,
I like Invincible more than Walking Dead.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
I really like Walking Dead. I think what he does well is, I mean, even in Invincible, like he was able to sort of dig a little bit deeper into, the idea of a superhero or the idea of like, him and his dad and that kind of thing, and the tropes. And I'm assuming that's kind of what he's going to do with this, like the martial arts stuff and the sort of tropes of those stories. I'm assuming he's going to kind of dig into that a bit and play with that, because he's done that in Invincible. He did that with The Walking Dead. He's done that, I think. But yeah, I guess I was just like expecting a little more of that in this volume of it, considering it was pretty long.
Yeah,
but
I
was just sort of surprised. Like nobody has talked about, the fact that.
Has anyone talked about it, period?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, that could be too. Maybe nobody gives a shit.
No, everyone's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to stir up shit for Robert Kirkman in comedy. It's just funny.
He's always got so many irons in the fire. I'm still reading Die, which I think is still going on with him and Burnham, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's so Kirkman's always got 4 or 5 titles being produced out there. I just added the Amazon cart, and while I was looking there in the search, another book came up called Chainsaw Man, which comes out later this year, and I'm like, I'll pre-order that.
Is that Kirkman?
No, it's who was it? It is a Japanese name, but Chainsaw Man Volume 1.
Tatsuki Fujimoto?
Yes.
Surprising
there's not Chainsaw Man. When you Google it, gives you that answer immediately.
Chainsaw Man very much sounds like Japanese horror film or something, like really.
It was an insta buy for me.
Like, yes.
I think it's going to be terrible.
I absolutely agree with you. I will still buy it and enjoy reading it.
Okay. I don't have that kind of free time, but
still working from home 3 days a week. So or reading comics in the car is
the Invincible cartoon comes out, or Invincible TV show comes out soon, right?
Really?
On Amazon, I think this year.
Is it
live action?
I think it's animated.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of circling back around to the X-Men and now different meaning. Did you guys see the trailer for New Mutants?
Mm-hmm.
No, I refuse to watch it.
You refuse to watch the trailer? What?
No, I'll watch the movie if it ever fucking comes out, but I'm not going to keep watching fucking trailers 11 years when they're fucking dicking around with this movie. Put the goddamn movie out and I'll watch it. I'm not watching anything else. I don't give a shit.
It's not like 3 years. They've kind of had that thing canned.
Just throw it on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Put it the fuck out there already. I'm tired of Bill Sienkiewicz talking about it. Okay, Bill, we know, we get it.
I feel bad for the people that made it.
Yeah,
like they already did it.
The kids that are in that movie are going to be adults with fucking marriages and grandchildren by the time the film comes out.
Yeah, it looks cool though.
Yeah, I think it could be fun. I forgot it was coming out because it was supposed to come out 3 years ago.
Hey, 2021, I think.
Just put it on Disney Plus. That'd be great for it, actually. It would get attention as opposed to like just being like sort of dropped. Like who knows if we'll be able to go to movie theaters in 2021? Just put it out. Just put it out. Put it out.
I agree, Tom.
Give me the director's cut.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Yeah. Post it online immediately.
All right. So do we have
hacked it and like put it online?
Yeah.
Someone did?
No, I'm surprised someone hasn't.
Yeah. It's like where are all the good hackers? I mean, have they been taking the entire pandemic off?
Russia.
Shouldn't we have Trump's taxes at this point? Anonymous has really pissed me off through this entire thing.
Fucking fucking jerk offs.
Slackers. Yeah. All right. So do we have any other comics to talk about? Anything else exciting going on in the world of anything? So
it's amazing I read that much.
We touched on Umbrella Academy a little bit. Doom Patrol continues to be pretty awesome on the old DC universe. I think we can talk a little bit about that next week.
Doom Patrol, like where do they keep finding like Hollywood just is able to produce like young, really brilliant, precocious Jewish kids to fucking act in these movies like that? The kid that plays number 5.
Oh, and in Umbrella Academy,
he's amazing. Like he's
the best part of that show,
and he carries it. He carries both seasons. Like what the fuck? Where did they find this kid?
In the first episode, whenever he fucking leaves Diego in the insane asylum, it's like what a great scene.
He's the best. He's amazing. He's like, where do they find this kid?
Yeah, you can tell he's looking older than he was in season 1, though.
Well,
they're only going to hold that magic for so long.
Listen, Angus Young was able to wear a British, schoolboy outfit till he was 70. So,
True. But yeah, that show continues to be awesome. I'm going to savor it. I'm not going to shotgun it. I'm going to binge it. I'm going to savor. I'm going to try and watch like one a week and kind of stretch it out for a while.
Oh, wow. I think I've watched 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Over the weekend. I watched like 1 on Friday, 1 on Saturday, and then 2 today. So I've been kind of slow. For me, that's kind of slow because I usually, if it's something like that, I'll. Mm-hmm. But
Red Dead Redemption 2. I've been stealing a lot of horses and robbing banks and stagecoaches. So yeah, I love that game. It's awesome.
I had fun with it for a while until I got to the city, and then I just got out of the city, and so now I'm shipwrecked on a desert island. What?
Somewhere, yeah.
I haven't gotten that far.
Yeah, it's shit goes down in Samnee and bad bank robbery, and you end up having to flee the area on a ship, and then you end up getting castawayed on an island.
Well, that doesn't sound fun.
Well, I don't know. I just got to the island. I'll tell you if it's fun or not.
You get a volleyball?
There's no volleyball. I think there are some pissed off people on the island that I will eventually have to shoot, because that's what you do in that game. So it's awesome. I love that game. It took a little bit to get into, but I'm digging it now. It's all it's just waiting until Cyberpunk 2077 comes out.
Is that a game?
That's the CD Projekt Red. That's the Witcher 3 production team. That's their next game that's been delayed for like a year. That is going to be their big open world, but it's a futuristic, like cyberpunk hacker game that looks pretty awesome.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah, check it out. It's one I think you'll enjoy, but it's from the same people.
Now I can't. Now you said it, I can't. Now I can't enjoy it.
Oh no.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Great.
For you. No more recommendations for you. That's right. I forgot. All right. Well, Sal, if people want to contact the show, they can do so how?
Well, they can email us at info@aroundcomics.com.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can contact us through Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They at Around Comics, Instagram at Around Comics, Facebook.com/Around Comics Podcast, Facebook.com/groups/Around Comics if you want to join our group. I think that's it.
TikTok is no more. It's been executive ordered out of existence.
Yeah. No, I never had a TikTok. I never set up a TikTok. You can buy Around Comics gear.
Get ready, Tom. Here comes the shirt.
At aroundcomics .com/shop right there.
Here you go, Tom.
Tom's wearing the shirt there. Nice. Lovely. Yeah. I think that's about it. Cool. That's all the ways you can contact us. You can send us stuff at P.O. Box 6114. No, 8114? 6114. It's on our
We'll
website.
verify later. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna go watch the end of the Bucks Rockets game and lament how baseball is gonna end up getting canceled here in the next couple weeks because people can't stay out of like casinos and fucking bars.
Those goddamn Cardinals. Fucking dirty.
Yeah, I think what they've traced it back to is a couple people from the traveling party went to a fucking casino, and now half the goddamn team has got COVID.
Yeah. Well, good job, baseball. I'm glad because my White Sox sucked, so I'm fine with the season.
They scored like 40 runs this weekend.
Yeah, they still.
It's against the Royals, though.
Baseball didn't actually have an actual plan. And that's what happens. Other than like, we hope things work out okay.
And they're not.
Yeah,
they're not.
It's contagious. It's a contagious disease.
It's a highly contagious disease.
Yes. Other people will get it.
Oh, did I tell you guys? Did I tell you about my accidental? I fell into a Trump rally.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that story last week. So, that's because we did it Friday. So Saturday, after we recorded the show, Saturday I go to Indiana. My buddy Dom has a couple of jet skis, and he goes to this little lake in Cedar Lake.
Was it a boat parade?
It was a fucking Trump boat parade.
Boat rally.
And there are, I don't know. This lake had never been. 4th of July, it wasn't this busy, but it was packed with Trump fucking lunatics on their boats with flags. I mean, there were.
I can't believe you got caught at a Trump boat parade.
This sounds like the 7th ring of hell.
People on the streets, just like dressed up for hours. I mean, just standing in the sun, yelling at cars for 4 hours.
Where's Joe Biden's boat parades? I haven't seen one yet.
Low enthusiasm, Tom.
Yeah, sad.
At one point, so I had to park down the road because they filled up the parking lot. And I guess to me, the whole thing, it seemed like they had gotten some misinformation somewhere along the way that there was going to be a Black Lives Matter rally. So they all,
they were counter protesting.
Huh?
They were counter protesters.
Yes, they were counting protesting the Black Lives Matter
That wasn't happening.
that never showed up. But that didn't stop them from yelling at every car that drove down the street that they assumed were Black Lives Matter people. At one point, I'm not even kidding. I'm walking by this house and there's like 6 or 8 people out in front of it. I mean, there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people in Indiana that are Trump fans. But there was like 6 or 8 people, like it was a fucking barbecue party, all wearing Trump shirts and hats, holding up Trump flags. And this one dude is literally yelling at a U-Haul moving van that is driving down the street. He's yelling, "Yeah, that's right. Move back to Canada." I mean, he's screaming at this guy that's just driving a U-Haul. In his deranged mind, it was something to protest. It was the most bizarre. I mean, up until this point, I was like, okay, I can understand. Like, I think a certain amount of people that are Trump fans are just doing it to get a reaction. They're like trolls. They're trying to piss people off.
And then you realize how many are actually crazy.
There is a large contingent. I am convinced, at least in Indiana, there's a large contingent of Trump fans that are mentally not stable people. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, it was
describing Indiana in general. This is Indiana in general, but then you add that onto it. So,
man, I will give him credit, like, because my biggest thing, we pulled up and I'm like, I'm not staying. I'm like, I'm going home. Fuck it. I know it was an hour to get here, but I'm
not staying. I'm not
being part of this boat parade.
Well, my thing was, if a Black Lives Matter rally, like protest, does show up, I don't want my family there.
No.
In the middle of this fucking shit show, you know what I mean? Like some stupidity to happen. I just don't want something stupid to happen and my family to be in the middle of it. That's all my concern was. My family's like, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Just, they'll stay to themselves. They're not going to bother us. It'll be fine. They convinced me to stay. And I'm like, okay, fine. And the whole time I was sort of like on edge, just waiting. And I have to say, I walked up and down the street twice to get to my car and back. I was around, they were around us the entire time, and nobody said shit to me. Like, nobody, tried to fuck. They were just, they were.
Had your uncle's sombrero on, they would have said shit.
They might have, yeah, maybe. Well, I'll be honest, they were not all white. Not all crazy Trump fans are white. So, but it was an experience. It was something else. They loved the man. I mean, he is not just a president. He is a hero, some sort of savior. There were flags with Rambo's body and Trump's head. There were flags that it was like a savior will be born.
He's a natural athlete. I don't know if you've seen him.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. The man's a gifted athlete.
Yeah. It was, I'm convinced now that a large portion of his fandom is literally insane. Like, I would joke about that, but now that's not a joke. That's
they walk among us. They walk among us.
But yeah, so there you go. There's your karma for the week of me.
I had to go to urgent care.
What'd you do?
So I told you I was mowing my grass and ran over a hive of yellow jackets with the mower, and they like declared World War III on me. I got like stung like 12, 14 times.
Oh,
and yeah, it sucked. But things were getting better. But then it was like 5 days later, and all of a sudden I started swelling up, and I ended up with like big fucking Mickey Mouse hands, and my legs and feet swelled up, and Marta's
sorry, that's really funny to me.
Face started swelling up, and I had to apparently had a delayed allergic reaction, and so I got to start working out because I'm on a bunch of steroids now. But
nice.
Yeah, but that was my weekend. That and a bunch of fucking postponed baseball games.
Mm-hmm. Tom,
Chris, did you see that there's a tomato that looks like you?
What?
Here, let me pull it up. I'll share my screen. Let me see. I gotta find the right. Oh, this is.
I mean, I do have ready skin, but
Let me see.
A tomato that looks like Chris.
Sal's just like, yeah, I can see it.
Oh, of course. Tomato, potato. Basically any root vegetable.
Yeah. Can you guys see it?
No.
No.
Oh, here. I can. There you go.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's how I looked on like Thursday, dude. Like, Marta's like, maybe we should go to the doctor.
A lot of people are saying it looks like Larry Bird. But I was like, that tomato looks like Chris.
Well, Chris,
Larry Bird in
A
it.
little Chris tomato.
you got a little.
His little hat. His little hat there.
Definitely the hat.
Yeah.
It's like a-
That's it. That's all I got.
yeah, yeah. That's how I looked, and yeah, Marta's like, yeah, maybe doctor. So, yeah, so now I'm on the good drugs now. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, always fun. Tom, you have picked out our book of the month, which I received this week and started reading it. It's Tiananmen 1989, correct?
Yes.
So we'll talk about that here in the next couple of weeks, probably.
Sure.
But wanted to remind people of that. I'm loving it so far.
Great. Spoilers. It doesn't end well.
There's some tension in there.
Yeah. History.
I started to read it, but I was I was a little high, and
You had a Trump. You had to get your
I
flag ready for your vote.
I started having a little bit of a panic attack.
I'm at the boat parade.
Trump
I was at a Trump vote rally, and so I had to put it down. But I will pick it back up. I will. It's in a better state of mind.
Actually, I think my wife stole it. I think it's sitting on the bedstand on her side of the bed right now. So I think she's reading it. So you gotta steal it back, so. All right. Well, folks, guys, always good to chit chat. We'll be back next Sunday, I'm assuming. In the meantime,
In between time,
we'll be everywhere in
head around comics. I don't know if I played the. Oh, there it is. Can you hear that?